Okay, Nir. First of all, welcome in this space that is hosted by CyberTrends, a magazine specialized in cybersecurity in Italy. And today we talk a little bit about automation, next generation SOC, and so I think that all of us know you, but maybe a few words to introduce you, and your role and a little background of you.
Sure. So my name is Nir Zook. I'm the founder and chief technology officer of Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto Networks is the largest cybersecurity vendor in the world. And the idea behind Palo Alto Networks is to, over time, consolidate more and more cybersecurity functions around the platform so that customers don't have to deploy 30 products from 30 vendors. They deploy one platform and then use many different functions on top of that platform.
Perfect. So we start to discuss a little bit about zero trust. It's one of the main topics today. In any conference, you heard about zero trust. I would like to understand from you what is your point of view about zero trust, why we need it, and how you can support this, let me say, transformation.
Of course. So zero trust is not a technology. It's a concept.
Yeah.
And the idea, maybe I'll take it a step back. Different vendors define zero trust in a different way, based on what they do, right? So endpoint security vendors will tell you that zero trust is all about endpoint security. You cannot trust the endpoint without endpoint security. And identity and access management vendors will tell you it's all about the identity. You need to verify that.
Sure.
So on. So I have a very different view. I think that zero trust is really about doing the same checks no matter what the situation is, no matter what the use case is. So when the user is trying to connect to an application, traditionally, if the user is on premise and the application is in the data center, we do very different things compared to if the user is away from the office and the application is in public cloud. And then we do different things if the user is away from the office and the application is in a traditional data center, because then we use VPN. And if the application is in SaaS, then we use CASB. And so we do completely different checks, completely different trust levels, depending on who the user is and what the application is. And zero trust is about normalizing it. It's about no matter who the user is, no matter where they are, no matter how they connect, whether it's SD-WAN or IPsec or MPLS or client VPN and so on, proxy, and no matter what the application is, SaaS, public cloud, private cloud, traditional data center, we do the same security. We don't trust anything. We verify everything, no matter what the use case is.
Good. And how do you support this transition with your solution? So what is the main value in your point of view about helping company in this kind of transition? It is organizational from one side and let me say change also of technology in some way or philosophy.
Yeah, so first I would say that transitioning to this kind of solution, first it makes you more secure.
Yeah.
Because you check for everything in any use case. You don't say, because the user showed their badge when they entered the office, now I trust them. No, you don't trust them. And second, it also makes cybersecurity simpler, because you don't have a firewall for this case and remote access VPN for this case and a CASB for this case and a proxy for this case and so on. You have one system. By the way, it's also cheaper. We do it with something we call Prisma Access. And essentially, it's our entire network security stack deployed in many data centers around the world, about 30. We have more than 100, about 120 points of presence all over the world. And all of those are connected with the private network.
Okay.
And then what we really did is we moved the security to the edge of the cloud. It's also called SASE, Secure Access Services Edge. And then it doesn't matter who the user is, where they are. It doesn't matter if they connect with SD-WAN to the edge, or with IPsec, or with client VPN, or clientless VPN, or proxy, or any other method. Once we get their traffic at the edge, we process it the same way, no matter who the user is, no matter where they go. And then we use direct peering to send the traffic to SaaS applications, public cloud, private clouds, traditional data centers, or just to the internet.
Perfect. Another thing that I'm curious to discuss with you is about, let me say, another topics that is often in conference. So we are talking about autonomous SOC, automation, and and also when you discuss these things, of course, for a company, there are investment to manage in order to move in that direction. And of course, and on the other side, you have let me say, the company, the board that is asking you, okay, how can I measure the return on investment or this kind of transformation, automation? What are the benefits? How we can measure the benefit? So what is your point of view?
Yeah, so first, let's understand why we need to automate this. So,
okay.
So there are two reasons, and they're kind of the same. The first reason is that the way most SOCs work is they filter the alerts that they cannot handle, and they only handle the number of alerts that they can handle. So for example, a typical SOC can handle about 50 alerts per week. So they only handle 50 alerts per week.
Okay.
But they generate tens of thousands of alerts, and they use correlation rules to filter them out. And those correlation rules are always wrong. Meaning there's always this alert that you really needed to investigate that you didn't investigate.
Yeah.
So I think that the first goal of automation is to investigate all alerts. Humans cannot do it. Of course, we need machines for that. Okay, so our first goal is, if we generate an alert for whatever reason, in the network, on endpoints, in the cloud, in applications, servers, whatever alert we generate, identity and access management, code scanning, any alert we generate, we need to investigate. So that's the first goal of SOC automation. The second goal of SOC automation is this. Almost every time there is an issue and you need to do an incident response, or if there is a data breach, the security team almost always comes back and says, we know what happened. The bad people, they went through here and they exploited this vulnerability on this endpoint, and they did this, and they jumped there, and they took this data and they took the data out this way. So we always know what happens, which means that we always have the data to know what happened. And the question is, if you have the data, why didn't you stop it in time? And the answer is, people cannot investigate every event.
Yeah.
We need machines for that. So the second goal of SOC automation is to find the attacks that we have the data for, and we have data for all the attacks. The proof is we always are able to, after the fact, say what happened, is to find that before it happens and stop it. And of course, humans can't investigate each and every event that happens in the infrastructure. We need automation for that. So the two goals of SOC automation are, all alerts should be investigated, and all the data should be looked at so we can find issues before they happen.
There is also a matter of data quality when you are approaching this way of working, I think, It's not only because I think that you need the quality of the data in order to, let me say, move into machine to machine and to, let me say, automate. Is that an issue?
Absolutely. You need very high quality data. And look, I will tell you, we would all like to live in a world where we can collect network data from one vendor and endpoint data from another vendor, and then cloud workload data from a third vendor, and it's not going to happen.
Okay.
In reality, a lot of the data has to be generated based on what you want to do with the data.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's going to be very hard to do it in a multi-vendor environment. So yes, look, cloud data like CloudTrail and VPC logs, and so on. Yeah, you'll collect it from the different cloud vendors. You're not going to be a cloud vendor, but network security, endpoint security, cloud security. At the end of the day, you need very high quality data, very deep data, not the kind of data you send to the SIEM. Today, to the SIEM, like Splunk and ArcSight and QRadar, we send logs. Those logs are not very useful for machines. There's not a lot of information in these logs. You need very, very deep data, very wide data. And that's difficult to collect, and it has to be very specific to what you plan to do with the data.
Yep, I agree. We are managing these things in the company, and I know that this is an issue. Another question is regarding the market. If you look in certain country, and especially if you look in Italy, small and medium business today are the most part. So the company are not so big like Poste Italiane, Generali, or whatever. But of course, talking about third party, these company are in any case important because these company are part of the chain. Sometimes a supplier, system integrator, consultant. And so at that point, we are discussing all these kind of things, SOC automation, SOAR, all this kind of stuff. Then how is your view for covering also company that have a different dimension and in order to protect also this company and help this company to move to the digital world in a more safely way? Because also they are important for you.
So I'll tell you, I live in a small country as well.
Okay.
In Israel, which is about 3 hours away from Rome by flight. And Israel is very similar in that it's mostly based on medium businesses. There aren't very large companies in Israel, very few, like in Italy, right? You have Fiat and a few other large companies, and here in Israel, there are some large high-tech companies mostly. And so it's mostly medium-sized businesses. And automation is the only way a medium-sized business that cannot find and afford to hire a SOC can be secure. I mean, look, outsourcing doesn't work. Outsourcing your security is just moving the problem somewhere else. Okay, so if you're a small business, you still need 5 people to look at your information and run your security. Moving it to an outsourcer is not going to help. Replacing it with software is going to help. And I'll give you an example if we have time.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, we came out to the market with our sandbox. Sandbox is something you take a file you've never seen before, like an application, executable, or a document, and you run it or you open it and you see what happens.
Yeah.
So let's say you take a PDF document, you open it, and the next thing that happens is a connection opens to some foreign country and downloads something. You have a problem, right?
Sure.
So in the beginning, we just sent an alert to the SOC, and we told the SOC, go deal with it. So the SOC had to take it and do some reverse engineering and figure out which IP addresses need to be blocked and which domain names and URLs and so on. We had very, very few customers use it, very few hundreds of customers. And then we said, okay, we're going to automate that.
Okay.
9 years ago, we automated it. We said, okay, we're going to take whatever we find, we'll reverse engineer it automatically, figure out what needs to be blocked, and then send that information back to the infrastructure. Today, we have something like 50 or 60,000 customers using it.
Yeah, sure.
Every small customer of ours is using it because it's fully automated.
Yeah.
So my point is that once you automate security operations, everybody can use security all of a sudden. I think that today, the biggest challenge in security is the operations of security.
Yeah, sure, I am agree with that.
20 years ago, 15 years ago, if you asked me what's the problem with security, I would say it takes forever to deploy security. By the time you finish deploying it, you need to buy a new product because that product is already 3 years old.
Exactly.
Today, most cybersecurity is delivered as SaaS, software as a service. You don't need to deploy it. Yeah. So now the challenge is operating cybersecurity, and the only way to bring it to small businesses in countries like Italy and Israel is through security operations automation.
Yeah, operation is the challenge, also for the skill of the people, find the people, the right skill, it's a big challenge. So automation, of course, can be the right way also to solve this point.
Exactly, yes.
Just to close, the usual question we are posing to the people is, what is your vision in the next 3 years? How security will change? What you see for the future?
So a few things. The first thing is, I'm not going to predict what the bad people are going to do.
Okay.
I know there are many that try to predict what they're trying to do. I don't know. I'm not one of those people. I don't know what they're going to do. I do think that we need to be prepared for whatever they do. And I think that the future is based on data, meaning, yeah, we have signatures in the firewall and signature on the endpoint and so on, but really the future of detecting the more sophisticated attacks, like supply chain attacks and targeted attacks, what we call APTs, is collecting a lot of data and processing the data, and that's the only way we're going to be able, I think, to deal with what the bad people are planning for us for the next few years. So that's one thing. The second thing I would say is that we talked a lot about SOC automation. I don't think that we will be able to do anything in cybersecurity without autonomous SOC in 3 years. Even it was before the pandemic. I think it was like 2017 or 2018 at Black Hat. There was a competition between AIs.
Yeah.
Competition between AIs, and one of those AIs won. I think it's from University of Atlanta, University of Minnesota, something like one university in the US. And then the following year, it competed against human hackers, and it didn't lose by much.
Yeah.
And that was like 6 years ago or 5 years ago. We're getting to the point where a lot of the attacks are automated, and the adversaries are using cloud to automate attacks. They're using machine learning to learn about our people on LinkedIn and social media and create a custom attack and perform the custom attack completely automated.
Yeah.
And I think that 3 years from now, people will not be able to deal with those attacks. We really need to automate. And then I also think that we talked about zero trust and we talked about moving security to the edge of the cloud. I predict that in 3 to 5 years, the vast majority of internet security is going to be delivered from the cloud, not with on-premise equipment.
Sure, I agree with that.
Cloud security is another major trend. I think that more and more organizations are moving to the cloud, and I think that, like always, first we think about the applications and the infrastructure, and then we think about security. So cloud security is lagging. I think cloud security is going to be very big in the next few years. And maybe another prediction is we have to start thinking about home security. So I'm sitting at home. I just came back from the office. I spend the mornings until like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. in Israel at the office, and then I come home and do my Zooms with, this case with Europe, but mostly with the US. So I'm at home. And if you want to know my IP address, it will take you about 10 minutes. Just send me an email. Send me an email with an embedded image. My email, my browser will, we're using Gmail. It will just go and fetch that image. Now you know my IP address. You go to the dark web. I'm sure that there are bad applications on my kids' Xbox, and maybe one of my TVs has been exploited. Within 10 minutes, you're in my home, and then you jump to my computer. Now, you can't do it in my home because my computer, my work computer, the one I'm using right now, is on a separate VLAN.
Yeah.
Nothing from home can get to it, and it has direct access to the internet on a dedicated link. But most homes are not like that.
Yeah, sure. This is for sure another big challenge, also because today, after the pandemic, the smart working way is usual.
Exactly. And if you think about it, the home has become a branch office.
Exactly.
And it's a very dirty branch office, not dirty, not the floor. Dirty from a security perspective, because you have smart TVs and security cameras and smart light bulbs and Xbox and PS and other devices that are not managed. We all know they have vulnerabilities. Many of them probably are owned. The kids install whatever they want on those TVs and Xboxes and PS5s, and the home is very, very dirty, very, very dangerous, and it's a branch office.
Exactly.
And we have to protect it. So I think we're going to see more and more attention in the next few, I hope few months, but certainly few years, being put into securing the home to the same level that we secure our traditional branch offices.
Yeah, I'm sure that also from my experience that also the cloud may help to reach this target, because you can guarantee today with SaaS services that, home office now is an issue for every company.
Yep.
In closing, I can say that at that point, first, I will thank you for the opportunity to interview you. And I think that SOC automation, so automation could be one of the buzzwords of today and the next future, I think.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.